Sound is good. All right, I think I'm no longer on mute. Hello, welcome, happy Thursday. This is our community conversations hosted by Explore Maryland Cannabis, but I am so honored to be here with two awesome trailblazers in the cannabis ecosystem here in Maryland. Of Maryland Normal and D. Rock Palmer, who is a business owner here, Extreme Terps. Check them out if you haven't. I'm going to ask my participants really quickly. If you have the YouTube or the Facebook link up, just go ahead and mute that for me real quick. Perfect. But if you are watching us now, you are here to learn about the case for home grow. So without further ado, we've got you all here for a tight hour. We're going to talk about some of the amazing benefits of having the privilege, the right to grow here in Maryland. As you know, there's cannabis legislation that's up currently. We'll talk about that and how that relates to what we're pushing the case for here today. So if you are watching us live on Facebook or YouTube, feel free to put your comments there. If you're on Facebook, I know there's a way you have to particularly register, but if you're on YouTube, your comments will show up here. And I know as we all kind of get rolling with this new software, there may be some glitches, but just hang in tight with us. Let me go ahead and pull up this wonderful presentation real quick. And I'm then going to allow my fellow co-hosts to introduce themselves. If you're wondering where you are, it's Community Conversations. Let your voice be heard. Our topic tonight is the case for home grow. So if you are not familiar with who I'm joined with, I am joined with the technical difficulties never end, but take a look at my fellow co-hosts that are here. I'm going to start at my right. My right is Luke on my screen, and then D-Rock is right under. So if you can go ahead, introduce yourselves, talk a bit about your, there we go. Hold on. Boom. Talk about your organization.
Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you. I can hear you perfectly.
This is my first time joining you in the community conversation room of exploring the ecosystem with you here and exploring Maryland cannabis. I'm really glad to be a guest to help carry this really important conversation. This is on the minds of everybody, right? And people are talking about home grow, home cultivation, but also cottage industry and what does this mean? And you're going to help us unpack that tonight. My name is Luke Jones, and I'm the director for the state chapter of the National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws, also known as NORML. And of course, the state chapter is Maryland NORML. So we help organize the Lobby Day efforts every year. And that's how I got connected with you and with D-Rock and with the whole community, because we've been part of the ecosystem working on this conversation for years. So thanks for having me on your couch.
Absolutely. Get comfy. It's the best you'll ever sit on. Go ahead, D-Rock. Tell us all about you and what you've got going on and all that. Just go.
I got you. Just want to say I appreciate the opportunity to, share my voice with you again, Keisha. It's been a long road, fun road, right? I'm known as D-Rock in the cannabis industry, better known as Extreme Terps, CBD Wellness. Been a advocate, business, patient since the beginning, right? Just always want to be a voice and try to show that, us as regular people can also have a voice and also a stake in this cannabis industry. With Luke, we go way back. When I first started going to Annapolis, nervous, didn't know who we're running to. Luke was one of the ones that helped guide me in the right direction of understanding the politics and things about cannabis. So, here is, a family that has been, together for a long period of time, and we continue to try to make a voice and show that, us as normal people have to make a voice in this industry. If we don't, we're going to lose it to the hands of committees and, the politicians and what we really don't want, right? So, I'm gonna cut it short and give it back to you, Keisha, but I appreciate the opportunity to share my voice again.
Oh, no problem. I'm always happy to be surrounded by the folks who do the work. Not only that just show up, but the ones who are down to get their hands dirty. So we talked a little bit about that legislation that's there in Annapolis. I'm going to toss that football back over to Luke again and have him, talk a little bit about the legislation that we have as it relates to home cultivation.
Yeah, well, you better watch out because I could talk until the sun came up. So I'm going to try and be specific about home grow in both the bill that is in the Maryland General Assembly House of Delegates, and that's House Bill 32 or HB 32. And House Bill 32 is the cannabis legalization bill that we expect to pass in the General Assembly this session. It might not, but we're a lot closer than we ever have been. And I actually haven't given up hope that the current General Assembly, which is only going to be really debating potential bills towards the end of March. So what we're talking about is only 4 or 5 weeks, 6 weeks at the most more, to determine whether or not we're going to have legalization happen in Maryland this legislative session. It's very exciting. And the reason I keep focusing on House Bill 32 is that the bill that's moving through the House, House Bill 32, was developed really in a very inclusive process. And so it has basically the things we've been fighting for. It has the right for adults to cultivate at home, 6 plants, 12 per household. This is like they have in DC. And this is for personal home, non-commercial, personal grow, whether you're a medical patient or you're just an adult, okay? And you can have the results of your home grow, at the place where you're allowed to have it. Now, outside of the home, you're allowed to carry up to 4 ounces, which is commensurate with the medical program purchase limits. And House Bill 32 has what we really are going to spend some time talking about, which is market access for people who want to try their hand at producing cannabis that they then wish to derive income from, which is separate from home cultivation. Home grow and home cultivation is not the same as deriving income, which is a cottage industry or a home business. So that's the House bill. It doesn't cap small businesses, and it doesn't cap small producers. In fact, it encourages and facilitates small business and small scale producers, including cottage industry producers and other craft and micro licenses. It does not cap the number. Now, in the Senate Bill 708, we have a hearing for that bill coming up in March, okay, just a couple weeks. And that bill has some differences in the House. It includes all the same home cultivation language, which is great, but it caps available business licenses for craft, cottage industry, and micro licenses. So I wanted to leave it with that, the summary of the 2 bills that are before us. We're going to find out, Keisha, if it's going to happen in the current legislative session or not, literally within the next couple of weeks, Keisha. So thanks for posting the links to the information. And we also, Keisha, have a quick link where people can click and send an email in support of the legislation, because if it doesn't happen this year, it's going to be our own fault, Keisha. Thank you.
I know, and thank you so much for giving us that clarification, especially when, folks hear that, both bills have what we're looking for to some degree, and there's much confusion here. But let's be clear, HB 32 is what we are supporting and what we want Maryland to look like moving forward. And Luke, you're right. You know, David Moon has been putting up a legalization bill for a very long time. You know, how many times have you stood up to testify in support for legalization over the years? Now is the time, something that we hear from all of our good folks. So I'm super excited to see what is going to happen moving forward. So yes, thank you for that piece here. So let me pull our slides back up here. And we're going to talk a little bit about what we're calling home cultivation, home grow, growing at home, having the ability to grow your medicine in the privacy of your home, right? 17 states plus the District of Columbia already allow that. So Maryland not only can align with the times as to what we're pushing for as a collective body, join the ranks of some of these fine, and I know there's some programs that are listed on this page that do really great work. I have friends who are in Michigan who are a part of a caregiver program, who now are some of the first Black women cultivate and processing centers in the entire Midwest. So it all starts from that particular right. So I was interested to see that, and I wanted to make sure that we shared that along with our audience. But we're going to move into our perspectives. So we talked a little bit about what what that looked like as far as what we currently have in the General Assembly. We looked at, you know, what states have already implemented something like that. Before we jump into the perspectives, I'm just going to say, reach out to your legislators. We're going to say that multiple times tonight, right? They want to hear from you. They want to hear what you have to say. Luke hosted an amazing lobby day with a collective, a coalition of other individuals. That policy conference was amazing, though. So it's a great kickoff to what, you know, lobby day was for, lobby week was for us. So, you know, I can count on both hands how many people I talked to. And, you know, the immediate question was, why do we need adult use? I said, let's walk back and talk about what we currently have and what Maryland stands to lose or gain if you don't support this legislation. So it was a very interesting time. I'm telling you right now, they have no idea. And if they do, and they're in full support, just encourage them to support their colleagues, right? That's all we can ask. So we're going to hop into our perspectives. I'm going to start off with the first one, which is our community benefits. And D-Rock's going to go ahead and lead that piece of the conversation as it relates to the community perspectives. So.
All right. Well, as you know, this is me being extreme again. Talk about the community benefits of home cultivation. One of them would be just elderly people, right? We have to look at that. A lot of elderly people that use cannabis on a daily basis would probably want the option of growing, right? It would stop them from being in pain in different aspects, being out in the element if they can't be, also preserving their medicine. I know there has been times where you go to the dispensary and they don't have a certain strain, right? So that would, you know, be one of the main benefits in the elderly community. Also, just say you are a patient like me, right? Well, let me put it to you like this. I'm a person where I like to do research, right? I like to understand what actually goes in my body and what actually works and what doesn't work, right? And I know there's a lot of other people that's out there like that also. If we don't put our voice out there and let them know, these opportunities will just, you know, fade away, and we'll, you know, I don't want to live in the aspect of I wish I would have, right? So this is a way that we can come together collectively again and, you know, put our voice forward and make change. The other options is like micro licensing, right? With micro licensing, this will allow you to, you know, and correct me if I'm right, Luke, you know, I can be wrong, but this will allow you to grow cannabis, understand cannabis, and actually get a niche. You can possibly be an innovator and find out something that no one has ever done, right? So this will create innovation. Then it will lead you into maybe creating small craft products and also conversing with the cannabis community, and also linking up with dispensaries and growing from an aspect where you don't need a lot of currency to build, right? What's another aspect? Just being into cannabis, right? Like there's people that just have a passion and has a green thumb and just love the multiple different aspects of cannabis, right? There's thousands and thousands and thousands of strains out there. And that's what I love. Like I like to see purple buds, green buds, multicolored, right? That's the fun part. And at the end of the day, it's a plant, right? And we really shouldn't be restricted on a plant that grows out of the ground, right? And also just focusing on, and this is the last topic, focusing on the criminal aspect. That's also what we got to look at, right? Even though they decriminalize certain aspects, but they're talking crazy about coming back and criminalizing us as cannabis patients. That doesn't sound right, right? So I hear theories about blood testing, and who wants to get pulled over and get a blood test? That's retarded to me, right? So we also got to put our voices out there. Like there's a lot of people that have been in the past locked up for cannabis and don't want to go through those strenuous situations of losing your job and being targeted and, being a melanated person and being, the whole shadow. We got to get out of that, right? We have to be a community. We have to push our voice in order for change. But I'm gonna let that stop. I'm gonna stop here and give it back to Keisha.
No, I mean you're absolutely right though. The community impact that having this ability to do so. Just imagine the educational benefits of spreading this message. People always talk about from seed to sale. Like imagine if you were able to have this taught by someone who was formerly incarcerated. Right? They know the plant more than anyone else.
Yes, exactly. And that gives also an opportunity to people that came home from being locked up for cannabis, right? That gives them an opportunity to rebirth their image, because when you get locked up for cannabis, it's a lot of stigmas and everything that you go through mentally. So we got to be able to be a community and collectively support them, right? Because it was in the wrong. Now it's legal, right? So those aspects, man, is collective. We need to create the circle. And
Absolutely.
This is time.
Now is the time. Community is important. It starts right in the
show's over, man. We just need to replay the last 12 minutes a couple more times because I think D-Rock just put it to bed right there.
Of course. He had to lay it
That's
down.
why I let it go. I let it go.
Underline a couple of points, but
I mean, but he's right though. And I mean, if you think about what Maryland stands to be able to be a pioneer in this, right? A lot of folks talk about, and even I've read, Maryland's a gold star state when it comes to our medical program. And I mean, compared to our neighbors down the road, we've got terpene profile testing on our meds. We have a variety of things, right? We know that certain cultivators are really, or growers are really, particular about what they grow and how they grow and serving certain markets, right? We all know Evermore gets the palate going for the fruitier flavors, right?
Yes.
Curio is very much for the classic flavors. They're just and Grow West is just out there blown out the water. And if you're watching Grow West, please let's talk, because they absolutely, even their untrimmed is amazing. We're not going to talk about humidity and moisture for any of the products that hit the market though, because it's winter in Maryland, which is all the more reason for patients to be able to cultivate their products, to be able to have their medicine on hand, whether it's December or July, right? That's just what it is.
Shouldn't be no restraints on your medicine.
Absolutely.
Well, if I could, I would like to just pick up on a couple of quick points on the perspectives.
Sure.
And take a turn at it. And I'm going to start with the criminal aspect of it, right? Which is that fundamentally, the question is, at what cost is our privacy and our liberty? And if I can walk down to the store and buy this product, but you're going to empower the police to come into my home because I'm producing the same product
that's being sold over the counter, right?
All right, so we're giving police then this kind of discretion. So that's number one for me personally. is removing the tools and the authority from police to have encounters with our people, because that's the point of the sword. Now, all these other benefits come into play.
Yes,
I want
sir.
to point out a couple of things for people, because the question is, what is the likelihood that the General Assembly, right, will ever actually do this, right, Keisha? This is a question people have. You know, we've been talking about this. What is the likelihood? Because there's tax incentives. They don't want people producing it at home because they want the revenue to go to the point of sale where they can collect the tax from it, or the business interests. Now, there's a whole bunch of reasons where people will say, you know, are they ever going to do this? I want to remind everyone that both of the bills in both chambers, Senate Bill 708 and House Bill 32, already include the home cultivation language.
Yep.
So that's my answer to that question. It's already on the table. The question is, what about market access? What about the person who wants to grow and say, hey, I'd like to, you know, I'm already selling, you know, pastries and cupcakes. I'd like to have an infused part of my supply chain, right? I want to be able to produce something that I make a product and earn. This is the American way. Exactly. We're going to write a law that says that a responsible adult can't participate in a legal economic activity. You got to be crazy to write a law like that, right? So you're just going to encourage people to establish an unregulated illicit market.
Agreed.
Okay.
Agreed.
You've got to provide people with a chance to fail. I put it that way.
Right.
You know, because people say, what are you talking about? I'm saying that we have access to all sorts of business enterprises right now in the economy that are not cannabis related. It's tough to operate a legal business and to make a go of it, right? Just because you allow somebody to have a cannabis business access doesn't mean they're going to be successful. They have a chance to succeed. They might give them a chance. You know, why not?
I was going to say,
the rights away.
Maryland's market, we've seen.
Last thing I wanted to say is this. We have independent dispensary operators like Hope Pillsbury, right? Marion, Maine, who are coming to Annapolis saying, and Peak Relief out of Rockville, coming to Annapolis, telling the legislators, if you allow home cultivation and cottage industry, we're going to put it on our shelves. We would love to establish a business relationship with an independent producer and give customers another choice on the product line.
So what more?
You have point of sale business operators telling Annapolis the same thing that all of us in the cannabis ecosystem are saying. What are the legislators supposed to do? The legislators in Annapolis are 20 years behind where we are in terms of our consciousness on these issues. They're still asking questions like, don't you have flashbacks when you're suddenly driving and you have a psychosis because you smoked marijuana 10 years ago?
The psychosis. They went in during the hearing on psychosis, and it almost to me, it was one super offensive as a cannabis patient, right? Like, you have to understand the dynamics of how the plant interacts with the endocannabinoid system. First things first. And then secondly, that psychosis is such a triggering word, you know, psychotic break, triggering word, which also has a stigma attached to it as well.
That's right.
So it pains me to hear, you know, the unfavorable reports in the last hearing, but I understand. You know, we all have a particular game that we need to play, but I'm just really excited that we're getting the truths out about, you know, why it's important to have this in our ecosystem.
That's right.
So you tapped on a little bit about the economic benefits. You know, I know D-Rock kind of tossed the ball in your court when it came to a little bit of the cottage industry, the micro licensing. Could you talk a little bit more about what that would look like in a fully realized or fully legalized system.
Yeah. Well, what I can do is answer the question in the context of the actual bills that are on the table, because the way it is designed is that the current license holder are going to have the first bite at the trough in the current proposal, but they're paying into a fund for the application process, and then the revenue is also taxed to establish the fund that supports the next round of business entrants. Okay. And what that is that beyond what the current infrastructure is, to bring products to a full adult use market, all the new licenses would be first round all social equity applicants. And the funds that we're collecting would be used to help offset some of the capitalization costs for these businesses. Okay, so like the first 3 years of lease on a big lot or a facility or something like that. Mm-hmm. Now, I just wanted you guys to have that sense of timeline, because if the bill passes this session, really the social equity round of licenses wouldn't happen until 2023. Okay, and there would be an initial allotment of like, I don't know, 100 or 200 licenses in that first year round, or and then after that it would depend on the following factors. And here's the real answer to your question, because just like we see in other areas like California, just because the state passes a law doesn't mean the local jurisdictions have set up the business licensing specifics. And so here in Montgomery County, for example, our county government has to establish the standards for businesses to issue some small grower license. Okay. And so it's going to look different all over the state. In rural areas, they may have a micro license category that allows, up to 15,000 outdoor square foot canopy grow areas. But in a more concentrated urban area, they may cap it and say, no, we can only do indoor grows here because or I don't know, but I'm giving you an example of how local jurisdictions, and some local jurisdictions are going to say, we're not going to put business licensing opportunities into play. They won't be able to limit delivery. Okay, but other areas are going to be ready to go. See, because I'm already shifting my advocacy work towards, is Prince George's County going to let people in Anacostia develop a cottage industry grow? It's not going to be banned under HB 32 at the state level, but that doesn't mean you can do it. What you're going to have to do is figure out what kind of electricity inspection is going to be required, what you're going to have to pay to. Right now, if I wanted to move a fence on my property, I think it's a $75 county license or whatever I got to do, right? Permit. So this isn't anything unusual. This isn't something special just for cannabis. This is the way we do business in the state now. For if you want to do a pupuseria or sell T-shirts or go out on the street and sell ice cream or water or whatever, you're supposed to get some type of business license, right? And so vendor's license or something, right? This normal if you're a hair cutter or any business. So if you're going to operate a cannabis business, the cool thing is that we have a bill that envisions that as the basis of our production.
Right.
Not as an afterthought. Right. That's why I'm so excited about this year, because what happens if Jazz Lewis is, impressing everybody else as much as he impressed me, and then the next thing you know, he's not in the General Assembly anymore. we got to go find a new bill sponsor next year. You
I
know?
know. I know.
Right now, this is the one, you know? So I don't want to come back next year on some industry written, lobbyist written, limited licensure nonsense.
Yeah.
That's not my bill.
So it's there. It's there. We just got to act on it. Like, people got to understand, like, it's not like it was in the past. Like, we have a plate, right? But we have to divide it into food for us, not food for the other side, right? And also look at, like, the recreational market. That's going to change the whole dynamics of Maryland, right? Which is going to allow these dispensaries and, cultivators 10 times, 20 times, 30 times revenue, right?
Now, here's where the real revenue will come, and this is the 800-pound gorilla, Keisha. I'm about to drop it on everybody because nobody's really talking about it. We've been trying to talk about it.
I'm waiting. Go ahead.
But it's very close to what D-Rock started with about the business development opportunities if you look forward. Now, what's really the future? It's not in-state production. It's licensing, the distribution of popular brands. Let me give you an example. Now, if you develop a small cottage industry here in Maryland, let's just say it's called, I don't know, Extreme Terps or something like that. Right? Let's just say. And now the next thing you know, all right, you're able to say, sign a distribution contract with a big producer from Afghanistan or Indonesia or China or Africa. Let's go back home, right? What if we went to, Liberia or someplace, right? And we have a contract to distribute the product. You don't have to grow every flower that is in your package in Maryland if you're have access to shelf space all over the state.
Great.
Now, the reason I say it's the 800-pound gorilla is right now in Maryland, that's the whole game. People wonder why the prices are still high 3 years and counting here in Maryland. Well, the license holders are not going to over-capitalize their production right before interstate commerce hits when they got to shut all that investment down. So they're only going to build up enough production in state to dominate the in-state market until interstate commerce hits. And then what they do is G-Leaf is going to grow all their stuff in Virginia and ship it to Pennsylvania, Ohio, and Maryland or something, right? Because it might be cheaper for them to grow all that stuff in Virginia, right? Yep. That's what's going to happen. So who has access to the shelf space and the brands? What happened this year in Maryland? Cookies, right? Culta brought it in and they had people wrapped around the block twice, didn't they?
Still.
Because they had distribution rights.
Right.
Yes.
They're snatching up distribution rights.
Right.
When Willie Nelson hits Maryland market, somebody's going to have distribution rights on that.
Well, he's already kind of here.
Equity licenses, but they're not right now.
Mm-hmm.
You see where I'm going with that, Keisha?
No one's talking about that. That's
the money's in, building a grow in your garage or a small grow. No, it's not. That's a hobbyist that thinks they can offset some life expenses or maybe have some supplemental income as a hobby, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe you add it on to an existing operation like a bed and breakfast or a bakery where you add something to an existing business. That's beautiful, right? Let's say you have a dispensary. You want to have a small grow and have your own little bottle on the shelf. Those are the types of things we're going to be able to do with this type of thing. Mm-hmm. That's beautiful. It should be that way. But the real money in the adult use market is not these in-state cultivation licenses. It's the sale and distribution contracts.
It's funny that you bring this up. One of my good friends who I mastermind with, every other week, Elena, if you're watching or if you're watching the replay, I'm going to go ahead and shout you out. She's a marketer at heart. So we were talking a bit about just trends in cannabis in Maryland and why is Maryland so different, yet we're very robust, right? We sell a lot of medical cannabis here, a lot of medical cannabis products here, right? In conjunction, if you look at Massachusetts, or if you even look at the progression that they're doing in Virginia, it's just really interesting. And she said, but is anyone really a standout brand?
Right.
And I was like, oh yeah, Cookies. And she's like, but Cookies isn't from here.
Right.
And I was like, oh, and
Right.
You see a lot of our cultivators rebranding some of their products. I always look around to see if I have any packaging with me, to make it sexier, to make it fancier. They'll boost up some of the terps.
Our industry is a bunch of people who just came into the cannabis industry.
Right.
They don't really know what they're doing. And you know what's really funny is that the Maryland cannabis supply chain in the first year had some shit we can't get anymore.
I agree.
Yes, I agree.
Changing, and you said,
You're
hey,
right.
man, what happened to the
original strains?
Yes.
Oh, well, we tried this and we tried that. I was like, that's what I thought, man. Shit.
Right.
You know what? Go back to just having the shit that is stable. And where's Jack Harar? The last time I saw Jack Harar, I could get it the first year, I think.
I think the last time I saw Harvest.
That was around.
Harvest was growing it last I checked, but they might have rebranded it into their modern flower. It's a really good.
They're already trying to market to an adult use market.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's the fun. That's the other part of this, which is silly, is that anybody who sees what Culta does with Cookies and stuff, come on now. That's not the medical program they keep trying to tell us they're trying to run.
Exactly.
They're getting ready for the adult use market.
Exactly.
Everybody knows that.
Exactly.
And it's not a bad thing, right? I am actually excited to see what that looks like, as long as the medical program isn't tossed to crap, right?
And that's why we need our voices, because we will be able to preserve that, right? We can't have the flood of rap because you have people that have ailments. So we need your voices, people. We constantly is going to say, just like she said, we need your voices to preserve. It has to be a balance. It's okay for you to recreationally use it, right? But there is people that really needs it on a daily basis. Like there's a lot of PTSD in city like ours, like mine, right? Like Baltimore. A lot of people consume cannabis because they're trying to get over anxiety and what they see on a daily basis. Just trying to get to the next day. So these are patients. We are patient, right? And we need to preserve us. We need to preserve us.
I'm pulling up a picture since you talked about Baltimore City. So there was one floating around. Some of my other colleagues who are affiliated with cannabis, whether it's certain organizations that help with reentry or workforce or things like that. But in the group, this group that I'm in, and I'm sure you all have, if you haven't seen it, let me see if I can share it. It was a cannabis bust, so to speak, right? Let's see if I can pull this tab up without it showing all my business. All right, that's the plow outside. Don't worry. Okay, can y'all see that?
Wow.
I'm gonna go ahead and make that a little bigger.
Yes,
so,
this is a recent arrest. Yeah.
Yes. And you can only imagine, one thing that was brought up when I saw this was, you can only imagine who this product was going to help.
Exactly.
Especially in areas that don't really have access to dispensaries. I mean, there are a ton of places in Maryland that, out of 23 counties plus Baltimore City, that don't have dispensaries in them, right? So that happened in Baltimore City, but that's the angle that I took from that. But I also took from, pass the damn bill so that we can help folks get the jobs that they need. So you don't have to keep having these stupid arrests, destroying people's lives. Right?
It's not a drug, man.
I'm glad you showed that. And you know what? That's not the reaction that most people have when they see it.
Right.
Most people see that and go, thank goodness the police caught those terrible people.
Terrible. It's
because
terrible.
what do they think? They think that this is a drug that's going to go to hurt somebody.
Agreed.
You know, like the person is on their way to a schoolyard, right? And they're going to start saying, hey, kids, here's the marijuana.
I mean, you get people also.
They're like, thank you very much, right? Or there's just some dudes like in my neighborhood, like saying, hey, man, I think I found a way to get a $20 vial of weed off of some kid, you know.
That's why I say I want to piggyback off of that. Is like I talk to these guys in the community, right? And I let them know like there's opportunity, but they still don't think it's hope, right? So with these bills being passed, I see the operations that they have, right? They actually run a business. They literally run a business. So all they have to do is just be able to be legal and put it on paper. They'll be successful, right? But we got to create hope in the community. And this will allow hope in the community and allow the crime to stop, because most of the crime is done because people are trying to get the next dollar, right? So if you want to stop the shooting and killing, if you want to stop the firecrackers in the sky and the helicopters and all of that, open the door, because that's all they're telling you in the bright light is we need opportunity. Things are going up. There's no money. The jobs are not available. COVID's here. Like, where's the door of opportunity? Give it to us. But the only way they can give it to us is if we do what we're doing now, is conversing and actually putting your voice out there. I'm tired of seeing and losing friends over $50 and $100 when we can converse against each other and come together collectively and, you know, preserve each other's family collectively, right? So I see it, and I'm so passionate. I'm extreme about it because I'm in it, and I see it every day, and I see multiple opportunities get lost by over a gun or a pair of handcuffs. It's out of control. We need this opportunity.
And not only do we need this opportunity, thinking, you know, just coming back to cultivation, the actual benefits of seeing a plant grow, consuming that plant once it's finished, right? There's nothing better than, you know, waking up at 3 a.m.
The essence of the plant.
Absolutely. Right. Waking up at 3 a.m. because you're in the middle of a grow and you're trying to figure out exactly, you know, did I water too much? Is that, you know, are they male? Like, because, you know, there's testing and all those things, right? But just those, the therapeutic benefits that can tie in with the economic benefits, that can tie in with our community benefits. It's a full circle. It just all connects. And I want to say this, and I try to say it as often as I can, but I heard Dr. Shonda say it, all cannabis use is medicinal. All cannabis use is medicinal, whether you're using it to treat anxiety, depression, something, immediate pain relief, or if you're trying to escape, and that's okay too. That is absolutely okay. But at the end of the day, there is no one who consumes cannabis that isn't using it to treat something.
Agreed.
And I think that along with, as we're shifting the recreational to adult use conversation, I want to make sure that we give her flowers and use that statement as often as we can, because that helps break that stigma. I remember when I first jumped into the cannabis community and really, you know, wanted to make a true go at it, because I didn't feel like there were enough Black women who were talking about cannabis, being in cannabis, growing cannabis, all of those things. And I thought about the mental health benefits of actually growing the plant, right? You're watching the plant grow.
It's therapy.
You're picking out the seeds. Look at what 2020 did for gardens, right? We got a cute little outdoor balcony garden that I can't wait to get my hands in. I also can't wait to buy a house soon. Cross the fingers.
You got
the garden, I mean, we grew tomatoes, we grew squash, we grew cucumbers, our herbs all summer, like in the middle of a pandemic.
Yes, getting back to nature. She's calling. She's telling us we need her. She's telling us we need to come back. We need to preserve. So this will actually allow that to happen.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it gives you a full circle moment when it comes to your cannabis consumption. So, you know, I want to point out when I talk about the therapeutic benefits of, you know, just think about if you planted a seed around March or April of last year, and you watched that seed grow and you got super excited about your super small tomatoes because you didn't use enough fertilizer because it's your first time growing, right?
Sure.
It's okay. Just embrace that feeling and just imagine how much more effective that feeling will be when you're able to grow cannabis, right?
Without a stigma, without the weight of knowing that you got a high, like you can actually converse with your neighbor and have small conversations, and we will be able to be out of the cage, the mental cage that we've been in for a long period of time.
Can you imagine, as opposed to fearing that we're going to lose our parental rights,
right?
Lose our reputation, our jobs, our careers.
Yeah.
Think about it. What a liberation! And you know what? For the people who aren't involved in cannabis, it's totally anticlimactic.
Yes.
It doesn't impose any extra burdens on anybody else.
Great.
It just liberates people who are involved with cannabis from stopping to live in fear that their life is going to get derailed in the criminal justice system for no good reason.
It turns the frown upside down.
Can I just say one other thing? Because I focus on legislation a lot, and you brought up that photograph and started a really important part of our discussion of it. And I wanted to mention that Delegate Ron Watson from Prince George's County, District 23, serves on the Judiciary Committee and had really, I think, done a very good job of thinking thoughtfully about this bill, because it's not something that comes naturally to some people. And he specifically requested that Jazz make sure that when we're thinking about a safe landing, right, for the people on the other side of this, that we also remember the frontline sellers.
Right.
Okay? Because just because this person has a backpack and a bicycle doesn't mean that they'll be able to put in place a delivery company, right? But, there should be a place, and I just wanted to point that out because you brought this unrepresented group into the conversation. These aren't people that are out there growing, fields of cannabis or anything.
Right.
They're sales and distribution.
Yep. All day.
And that's where we started earlier. That's where the future of this whole game is. And that's where our expertise is. We're going to let somebody take that license away from us too.
We've got to make sure that our comrades in the legacy market get the opportunity to strut their stuff, shine their skills, because nobody knows the product better.
Baby, that's the game in the future.
And I'm hoping that, as we see other states who are shifting towards that same focus, we have at least a model that we can kind of emulate here. Because if we come, very aggressive and hardcore, like make sure folks are getting it done, they'll hear us. But if we come and say, hey, here are 20 other states that show what, the positive metrics of placing individuals who are either formerly incarcerated or who have firsthand experience at this, a crack at it, right? Have an opportunity to be able to build their empire, change the generational trauma that's been inflicted on them and their communities, and really a hard solution towards, getting rid of the effects of the failed war on drugs. I truly believe that. And I think that, if you go to that post, it was posted by the Baltimore City Police Department. So it's a public post. But if you take a look at those comments, a good majority of those folks are like, it's a waste of time.
Exactly.
Waste of time, waste of resources. I moved more than this when I was in high school, right? Like there's the stigma, I feel, in the perception of one, defunding the police and how the program and the things that are happening there, right? But just what their resources are being used for and how much more effective they would be if they were put back into the community. So
just say one thing though. I don't want anybody who watches this personally to misunderstand something. And I believe, and I don't know, I want to speak for anybody else, but I believe strongly that a consumer would really prefer to have a product that they knew where it was grown and what it was.
110%.
Than just some bag of weed somebody found and put into a smaller bag and said, here, this is
something.
Blue Dream, right? And I was like, oh yeah, that's what I thought. Let me look at this and I'll tell you what it was. Give me a second, But the point that I'm making is that I don't want people to misunderstand that the current system is what we're trying to defend. What we're trying to defend are the people who are involved.
Yes.
And we want those people to be able to transition out of an illicit, dangerous encounter with the police risk situation and get into having an ATM machine card and a legitimate business. That's what we want.
To be a player in an industry that has stigmatized them, that has locked them up, that has not
product. We know what it is.
Yeah.
And any home grower that is going to bulk and say, "Don't test mine," I'm going to say, "I don't want it."
Right. I don't blame you.
Know growers. And you know what they say? They say, "Test mine.
Test mine, please. Test it."
Agreed.
How much do we need to do now? Like, there's nothing better. We were in Canada last October, right? Just to check out their market there. They had terpenes on their products as well. Yeah. But you could tell there was just something a little bit different, right? You can tell that it's all kind of grown in one particular place. It's then shipped out to the different wholesalers and things like that. And the one thing I thought was, wow, what an ecosystem. And I was like, I don't want Maryland to be anything like this, right? The ability, I mean, just looking at DC, to the ability to, have my friends gift product that they have, labored over, right? I know that, their heart and soul is in it, and it tastes so much better, right? Like when from start to finish, just like your favorite dish, that you put 3 tabs of butter in it, and that's what gave it its flavor, right?
That's the big thing about craft, right? When you're a big industry, right, and not knocking any of these culture vultures, right? The bigger that you grow, your quality, right, depreciates. So when you have craft growers that actually microscopic every day, focus on terpenes and focus on the trichomes and make sure that they pull it at the right time and it's actually done with hand and not machine. Like me personally, I appreciate that type of stuff, right? So that's how you get better quality, when you can micromanage, right, your growth. So like you said, I like terpenes. I like things that smell good. I mean, some of these medicinal flowers are not up to par, right? And this would be able to put pressure on the culture vultures to create better product, because these craft companies from ground up is kind of putting the pressure on them, right? That's that balance that we need. We need craft. Yes, for competition. Exactly.
Absolutely. Well, start a garden. Doesn't have to be cannabis this year, but for your mental health, I will say there's nothing like flexing that green thumb, even if you kill everything the first season. So
it's learning.
That's all it is. I see that we're coming up towards the close of our conversation today. I just want to thank Luke and D-Rock both for, one, being colleagues who actually do the work in the industry. There are a lot of folks who get some shine. These individuals right here do the work, and the results speak for themselves. Before we go, I would love for you to let folks know where they can find you, and we'll talk a little bit about what we have up next. But now's the time. If you have questions and you're watching live, go ahead, drop them in. If family and friends are watching, go ahead, say hello. My sister is here, so I just want to make sure I say hello to her. But let us know that you're watching us live, because that really means a lot to us. But
it does.
I started with Luke first, so I'm going to start with D-Rock. Let us know how to find you on these internet streets, what you may have coming up, and all that.
Well, as you know, like you said, I'm D-Rock. You can find me on Instagram, Extreme Terps Wellness. You can find me on Facebook. You can also go to my website, extremeterpscbd.com. We're doing also a lot of upcoming events with different other companies and networks around. So stay tuned to creating more collective community involvement. But I'm all about the grow, man. So if you're one out there that wants to know about cannabis, that wants to know about CBD, I am one that loves to educate and talk about this plant. So feel free to reach out to me. My email address, info@extremeterps.com. And like I said, don't listen. You can email me. I'm like your next door neighbor. I'll talk all day about cannabis. We can chop it up. We can, I want it to be a fun place and a fun topic to talk about, right? So, like I said, feel free. And also, if you need questions about CBD, I'm also here for that also. So I'm gonna pass the mic back to Keisha and appreciate the opportunity.
Absolutely, absolutely. Luke, you're up next.
Yeah, thanks. And with regard Maryland NORML, this is right now the next 4 to 6 weeks is the main push of our whole annual reason for existing, right? Which is to get this bill through the General Assembly. So for us, we have a real simple Linktree page, and Linktree /MD NORML. And on that Linktree page are just a couple of links. The first one being one click, send an email to all of your legislators. I checked the national office right before the show, and we've generated over 500 emails so far. Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you. And that's the first link there, right underneath our circular logo at the top of the page. So I would encourage everybody to go there. There are some other links if you would like. The last one being a link to the lengthy policy conference that Keisha and Explore Maryland Cannabis helped lift up, and I knew I could pass the ball for you to help us carry part of the agenda, Keisha. I appreciated you stepping up. And that's really it. I really appreciate the opportunity to be part of the ecosystem, and what a great diverse family we have, and we're on the right side of history. We really are, and I can't wait to have the day, see the day when an adult can grow some cannabis plants at home without fear of being arrested. So that's where we're headed, and I hope that we're going to be there soon.
Absolutely.
Just to piggyback, I want to say one little thing too. Also, with us being home, it's easier than ever to jump in virtually with these placements of the policies, right? It's nothing but chiming in and hitting a button. So you don't really have to go to Annapolis anymore. There's no excuses of not having transportation. So, all of those situations that you thought was barriers are now gone. So this is more of a reason why we need your voice. The plateau is here. There's no excuses. Please send your emails, send what you need to send, your voice. Also, when you're looking at these different policies, you'll also see the people that are causing the issues or the people that are actually trying to help with the issues, right? You'll get the names. Like, these are all the things that we talk about. Oh, we don't know who is putting this out. We don't know who's saying this, who's saying that. It's here. Just like Luke said, it is here. So let's utilize this opportunity before it fades away.
I love it. I love it. And I mean, you all both said so many words. So I just want to make sure that I follow up and say that we will be distributing a resource share document that we'll be putting together with just some key points to kind of keep pushing through. Like Luke said, these next probably 6-7 weeks or so. We are definitely going to be targeting and making sure that our voices are heard as a community, because HB 32 is the bill that we have been waiting for, right?
Yes.
Yep.
I also want to thank you both, just publicly handing you your flowers. There have been many times where I've either called you, text you, DM'd you, and the flowers that you give me for the work that I do in the community just does not go unnoticed. And I want to make sure that folks know that I stand alongside amazing folks who do really great work. And these two individuals, like I said earlier, do amazing work. So support their efforts. Go to the link tree. Purchase Extreme Terps products. Hit up D-Rock because he, like he said, he is available for you. Just prime example. And this is my last, bit of piece to kind of tote what I've got going on. Explore Maryland Cannabis, my baby. I'm super proud to have this organization born out of an adverse reaction to RSO, and it's bloomed so beautifully. I've been able to network and connect with so many great individuals.
I'm proud of you too.
Thank you so much. These community conversations are happening scheduled on a monthly basis, but this particular conversation, we want to make sure it comes to you fresh, hot off the press. So we're working on something that will be a little bit more consistent as we roll out the rest of session. And I'll make sure that I share that with my networks, and of course they'll share that with their audiences as we kind of gear up and break down what home grow, home cultivation in an idealized legal market looks like. If you're looking to connect, we've got a membership program. You can go to exploremarylandcannabis.com and check out the offerings we have there. Next week, we've got a workforce webinar. And of course, we've got our end of the month game night. So if you're looking to win some prizes, play some trivia, kick back with some folks, be sure to sign up for that.
I'm gonna throw some products in there too.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much. It's $5. I saw got 5 on a social series. I look forward to seeing y'all all there. I do have one last question that I want to put up here. I know y'all saw it. Are there opportunities for safety professionals in this industry? What are the most dangerous jobs, tasks in this industry? So I'm going to let you two answer that question, and then we'll go ahead and close it out.
Go ahead, Luke.
Under the proposed bill, House Bill 32, there are 2 categories of license in the adult use cannabis industry that are reserved for social equity applicants: delivery and security. And I believe that's right. Yeah. And so I would just say that security is a big part of this industry, whether it's at the cultivation facility, during transportation, or at the processing facility, or
at the dispensary,
points of sale. So throughout that whole process, there's actually also increasing discussion about getting a handle on the waste stream side of the industry, because a lot of people don't know that the medical cannabis program is, for its economic footprint, the highest carbon producer in terms of its energy, and greenhouse gas footprint in the state, is my understanding. Somebody trying to steal a bunch of old cannabis stems or something.
Roots.
They don't know. They nobody trying to steal that garbage.
They don't know.
Not when you can go in the front door and get what they.
I agree.
Or you can grow it yourself, right? You don't have to hire a bunch of security to guard your trash if people who can't afford to walk in the dispensary can pop a seed and grow a plant.
Agreed. Agreed.
There you go. There you go. The jobs and opportunities are endless in this industry, and just pay attention. Pay attention. You pivot your skills. Pay attention. Like I said, this has been a great conversation. Always going to shout out my day one Mike. Thank you so much. He comes to everything. And on that note, I'm going to go ahead and end this live broadcast. Thank you so much.